What is going on? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, friends and fam, whoever's watching. We are at day 5 of our devotionals. And so this one's going to be a good one, could be a tough one. But thank each and every one of you who stuck around so far. Again, I hope you're enjoying the content. Would love to, again, hear any comments or feedback that you guys have. And so we're going through. We're going to do 30 days of this, and today is day 5. So we're going to jump right in. I got some extra Bible reading today because this one another brings some extra clarity. So I want to make sure that we're getting it right. Amen. So day 5. This one is in the book of Romans, chapter 14. We're moving along here, verse 13. Therefore, do not judge one another anymore, but rather determine this, not to put an obstacle or a stumbling block in a brother's way. And so here's what this means. I'm going to give a little bit of context. In Romans chapter 14, the Apostle Paul is talking about food and Sabbath. Okay, in verse 14 or chapter 14, 1 says, "Now accept the one who is weak in the faith, but not for the purpose of passing judgment or opinion. One person has faith that he may eat all things, but he who is weak can eat just vegetables." So again, what this is talking about is if somebody feels like, because back in their day, is pork was a big no-no. So the Jews did not eat pork, but they were starting to have Gentiles who were getting saved and baptized into Christ, and they were eating pork because they'd always eaten pork. It wasn't a big deal to them. And so one of the things is, what can I eat or what can I not eat as a follower of Jesus? And then a few verses down, it talks about one person regards one day above another regards every day alike. Each person must be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it for the Lord, and he who eats does it for the Lord. For he who gives thanks to God, and he who eats not, for the Lord does not eat or give thanks to God. So listen, what Romans chapter 14 is saying is, listen, you are not to pass judgment on each other for these types of things, okay? And so I'm going to take a couple of minutes and do some teaching. I haven't done a lot of that yet. And so what is going on here is he's saying, hey, don't judge each other for the food or the day that you observe as your Sabbath or as holy, because again, Gentiles didn't observe as Sabbath before Jesus. This was new to them. The book of Romans is written to primarily Gentiles in the Roman church, okay? And so there's this idea of, hey, don't judge each other, don't judge one another. But the truth is, biblically, there are many things that we are supposed to judge, especially pastors and leaders. We have to make right judgments, okay? And so in passages like this where it says, see, it says not to judge. Well, that's not true. I'm not supposed to judge you on like what foods you're eating or not eating. I'm not supposed to judge you if Saturday's your Sabbath or if Sunday's your Sabbath. Those things, he says, aren't as big a deal. But if somebody is a brother or sister in the faith and they are walking in outright sin, well, then I need to come and make a judgment, not against them, but tell them, hey, listen, this is not right. This is not of the Lord. That is a proper judgment, because every day we're making judgments. I'm making a judgment based on how close I want to follow another car in traffic. That's a judgment. We're also making judgments of, do I trust somebody? Do I, because we're supposed to trust our brothers and sisters in faith. But if I'm making a business deal, that's a different element of judgment. It's a different element of trust, okay? And so there are things in the body that we are called to make judgments on, and that we are called to make hard decisions on, and that's just biblical. So just taking a blanket statement that I'm not supposed to judge, well, that's not true. That's not biblical. But this statement where he says don't judge one another, he's talking about if somebody's going to eat pork or somebody's going to eat something that I don't agree with, or one of the thing for our day as believers is if somebody has a glass of wine, am I going to judge them or not judge them? Listen, there's some things that are not that big a deal. But when we're talking about lifestyle and a way of living and a way of honoring the Lord and being worthy of the calling, as it says in, I think it's the book of Ephesians, listen, that is a different ballgame. So we are to make right judgments when it comes to a way of life, but in this context, we're not to judge our brothers on what they eat or what they observe as their Sabbath. So I want you to understand these things, and I want you to start to dig in. So again, one of these things is I really want to focus on some reflection questions of, am I casting judgment on others for things that I'm supposed to, or am I casting judgment on other believers on things that I'm really not supposed to? And again, we always want to examine our own heart and see where we're at before the Lord, before we judge anybody else. There's a whole other passage Jesus taught about taking the plank out of your eye before you want to pull some, like a little pebble out of their eye. So there's a lot of things about judgment. So we have to be very careful. But then there are certain times and ways biblically that we are called to judge. So again, I pray you're enjoying these. I hope that you like it. I hope that you share it. And hit me up if you have anything. We're really focused in this season on Resolute Ministries and all that God has for it. We have exciting news coming up that I'll share in due time. But in the meantime, God bless you. I hope you enjoyed Day 5 Devo.